Hello, everyone. Welcome to the LinkedIn live show Lead Talk by Global Society of Human Capital Management. Let's get real. If your HR strategy isn't driving EBITDA or organization top or bottom line, you are not just missing milestones, you are leaving millions on the table. Certified HR leaders from CIPD UK, chartered member or chartered fellow, these leaders, they don't follow trends, they set trend. These successful companies didn't just boost their employer brand, they turned culture into a balance sheet of superpower only because they had a certified chartered member or a chartered fellow or chartered FCIPD part of their board member strategy. Globally, certified HR leaders don't just hire, they are the architect of organization culture that drives over 25% jumps in the shareholders' wealth. Today, discover how chartered MCIPD and chartered FCIPD professional use data, empathy, and strategic rigor into HR and transformed it into a boardroom solution. We have some intriguing question and certain data to share with you. 63% of CEOs distrust HR leaders without chartered member or a chartered MCIPD or a chartered FCIPD status. Why CIPD levels 3, 5, and 7 are becoming a career killer for senior HR leaders with over 10, 15, 20, 25 years of experience. My suggestion to the senior HR leaders, please delete from your LinkedIn profile if you have level 3, 5, or 7 certification from CIPD. It is not going to do any value to you. In fact, it is going to be a counterproductive for your brand and credibility. What if I told you that your HR team could add 50 million to your organization bottom line or more? One Saudi bank has proven it. And we'll show how today during our LinkedIn Live talk show by Lead Talks as we celebrate 2025 as a year of empathy. Today we have among us one of the finest chief of HR in the Middle East and Africa region. I know him since last 15 years very closely, and I've seen him how, because of his sheer strength of understanding business, understanding people's strategy, he has completely transformed his organization through very effective HR strategy, culture strategy, empathy strategy, and other business transformation strategy. He's a chartered fellow from the CIPD UK. He's a chartered fellow from Australia. And we welcome today Mr. Nawaf Kable as we celebrate Year of Empathy 2025. And we will be discussing a lot about very intriguing topic, that how globally certified HR can add huge value to the shareholders' wealth. Before we begin our conversation, this is going to be very, very interesting. Let's hear from Mr. Nawaf about his journey so far and what he is doing and how he is adding wealth to his organization.
Thank you very much, Sandeep. It is actually a very great pleasure to be part of this kind of discussion. And again, a very privilege actually to know you personally, Sandeep, for the past few years. And we we have actually connected together many times during the past. And definitely, I'm very happy actually to be having this discussion today, sharing my knowledge with the wider audience. As you know that I have already completed in the HR domain 27 years of experience. I started my journey a long time ago, working in different industries, starting from aviation and aerospace in my beginnings, where actually I have started to learn actually the HR domain and start actually getting inside what to know what is HR actually at that time, which in the fact actually it used to be called personnel before actually that the big transformation of HR when it actually came after a few years from my start. Then actually I have worked in different industries, including telecom, and today I have ended with working in the banking sector or the financial services sector for almost 14 years. Currently with Gulf International Bank as the Chief Human Resources Officer, and being part of a great journey of growth and expansion.
It has been a pleasure knowing you for so many years. And I'm so happy that today we are having this conversation, and which is going to add so much huge value to so many thousands of senior HR leaders. Some of the facts which I would like to bring as we proceed our discussion before we ask the question. So, so let me bring certain more facts. We will be talking about CIPD levels versus chartered status, and what your LinkedIn profile really say about you. Let me be a little blunt. If you are senior HR leader still chasing levels, I will say you are playing checkers while your peers having a chartered fellow and chartered MCIPD, they are playing chess in the boardroom. Chartered status isn't certification. It's a reputation hack that skips 12 months of wasted effort. So we will be showing you the blueprint of how you can use today's discussion and transform yourself from operational HR strategist to a strategist who can drive effective value in the boardroom. Some of the more facts. Chartered FCIPD is fellowship, positioning you as a global thought leader. Chartered MCIPD is a strategic advisor. You know, speed and prestige. Chartered status can be fast-tracked in 2 months now, whereas for the levels, you have to struggle for almost 1 year, 1.5 years. And at the end, what you end up getting? You end up getting a certification which is way below your pay grade or your designation. Mr. Nawaf, how does FCIPD certification equip HR leaders to align culture with business goals?
Great. I think this is a very great question, Sandeep. FCIPD certification actually equip HR leaders and provide them with strategic HR frameworks, leadership development, and also access to best practices in the market to align people strategies with business objectives. For example, in GIB, we have our competencies, and they are beside actually our values. they actually represent our culture in NGIB, and we have aligned both of them to be aligned with our business objectives. So the CIPD certification really helped me a lot reaching into this point, trying to create actually or align our culture with our business goals in the organizations.
I completely agree with you, Nawab brother. I have seen people being hired in the organization with the chartered fellow and the chartered member, and I've seen CEOs hiring people with non-chartered member, non-chartered fellow. The impact of two different HR leaders, huge, phenomenally huge. The chartered fellow and chartered member, they bring a lot of brand credibility with them. And they being the head of function add huge value in terms of branding their HR function and their organization. So it's something like this that if in an organization, it is publicly traded, if it has a lot of professional leaders versus an organization where the leaders are not professionally accredited. So it gives a lot of credibility to the organization where organization leaders are certified, accredited, because shareholders would like to invest in a company which has a lot of credibility. So automatically I've seen that those organizations where there are chartered members, chartered fellows, especially at the end, it is a human being, who is driving the organization. And if those are managed, the people are managed by a very professional and accredited professional, there is a lot of trust among the shareholders that the organization culture is in the safe hands and they can drive and safeguard their money which they are entrusting to the organization or the company. So this brings to our next question, which is, what's the number one people analytic metric that impacts shareholders' value?
Yes, this is, to be honest, Sandeep, I think one of my favorites. Today, I think number one people analytics that I think that add a lot of value to the shareholders is the employee engagement survey. In my view, they link or correlate actually directly with the profitability of the organization. Okay, so we have seen actually that it's common that or understanding that every increase in the engagement score reflects positively on the dollar sign. So, and also we have witnessed this actually today in JB. We have seen that when we have increased our engagement scores during the past 3 years positively by let's say 35%, that was reflecting positively in our revenues and net profit. So having this kind of analytics will help the organizations to understand what they need, what their strengths, their weaknesses, what they need to focus on, how they can engage with their staff and address their requirements, which actually will result in having happy and satisfied employees who can actually contribute to the value of the organizations.
Completely agree with you, Nawaf. To celebrate 2025, the Global Society of Human Capital Management, we are celebrating the year of empathy. And why I'm mentioning this, Nawaf, is you just mentioned about how employee engagement is so crucial in aligning with the shareholders' wealth. And Empathy strategy does exactly like that. Empathy strategy can totally transform the organization culture, and it can create an environment where people commitment increases, the engagement increases, people commitment and engagement with the customer increases manifold. And that's how we have been publishing a lot of research reports, monthly calendar, and each of these monthly calendars, it has action plan, action initiatives in a nugget size where not only HR but the business leader can take action to create an environment of organization culture driven by empathy. So, since you just mentioned Nawaf, so I thought it will be pertinent to take you through that kind of a strategy which you are driving in your organization that is adding huge value to the shareholders' wealth. This brings us to our next question. Um, the question number 3: how do you balance empathy with hard business results?
Yes. So balancing empathy is something يعني, difficult, but it is actually important. And we can achieve this by fostering a people-centric culture while making data-driven decisions that support both employees' well-being and company goals. Through our engagement surveys, we have found, for example, in JB, that flexible working and remote working have actually boosted productivity and reflected positively in our business results. So, understanding the people needs have actually contributed a lot actually in the business results, making our employees happy. We have addressed their requirements. This needs actually came from, I mean, all of us have families and we have actually commitments, as you said, and we have actually to support our staff during their, I would say, busy times. Yani, in JIB, we have tried to introduce the flexible working hours to match actually to give people actually flexibility to address their family commitments and other needs. Sometimes we have staff where they have young children that are entering school, for example, for the first time. So they have the flexibility in the first week, for example, of schools to come maybe late, so they can accompany their kids in the beginning of the first week. Also, we have different occasions. I mean, especially for example, now we have Ramadan. We are in Ramadan, so Ramadan also one of the I would say from a work perspective, the toughest months. I would say people have needs. We have females that are also having two commitments. I would say to contribute to from a work perspective, and they have also their families to look after. So they need to be ready to cook for their families during Ramadan, iftar, etc. So we have provided this actually flexibility and ability to work actually remotely during this holy month, which have actually proven that in the past that have resulted in a very satisfied employees and producing and giving a lot to the productivity and adding a lot to the organization.
This is such a music to the ears, Nawab brother, and the kind of empathy culture you have in the bank, and you work as a one big family. That's how you can live implementing the empathy on a real time basis in your organization. So this brings to one interesting topic, Nawaf. Remember, we you mentioned that It was the same Saudi Arabia where we had the personnel and the international recruitment, only these two functions. And see how it has been now 15 odd years now, how the whole landscape of HR function has totally changed and how it has become absolutely people centric, and how empathy is now taking a center stage in driving the business strategy of the organization. So, this takes us to our next question, which is question number 4. Can HR truly influence stock prices?
Definitely. I mean, as you said, actually, Sandeep, the HR, the human resources concept has evolved during the past few years, actually, from being the traditional HR department or personnel that looks after only, let's say, hiring and firing and paying salaries and also looking after leave, to become today a value creation, actually, strategic business actually partner that actually create value to the shareholders and externally and also internally. So for sure that by cost working on talent optimization, cultural enhancement, and retention strategies, that will for sure improve the business performance and also reflects very positively on the stock prices. Today, unfortunately, GIB is not publicly listed. However, we are working toward this inshallah. But we can feel and the share value of GIB among other competitors at the moment. So it is actually the value of HR is actually have a big influence on the share value of the organization. Definitely.
This is very good news, Nawab brother, that the GIB Gulf International Bank is going for a public listing very soon, and the kind of organization culture you have been nurturing and which is empathy driven in your organization is going to add huge and immense value to the shareholders' wealth and the outlook. So I keep on sharing this information, in our live talks, that the gold standards of the certifications are Chartered MCIPD or Chartered member or a Chartered FCIPD, Chartered fellow. And this has been proven time and again. And only those organizations where you have HR leaders as Chartered member or Chartered fellow, they understand how and why HR strategy must be aligned, or a people strategy must be aligned with the business strategy to create the shareholders' wealth. So 100% agree with you on your reasoning and your justification for how the HR can add value to the stock prices. This brings us to the next question. What's a proven FCIPD framework for employer branding? I know without a solid, robust employer branding, you can't align that with your organization brand value. And if you are not able to align this organization brand value, it does not translate into adding value to the shareholders' wealth. So, how does the FCIPD framework proven method is for the employer branding?
Exactly, Sandeep. Again, when speaking about value, so the proven, I think, framework from the CIPD is going to be the employer value or the employee value proposition, which actually focus on culture, rewards, growth opportunities, and also creating the right culture and work environment. It is a combination of these core, I would say, elements that staff go through during their life, their actually life cycle within the organization. So without having actually this total combination of employee value proposition, and it is very important that for every organization to decide actually a part of their strategies, what is their employee value proposition that they need actually to address. So without actually having a clear employee value proposition, you will not be able to actually achieve your end goals at the end. So you will need to decide, agree, put actually the right strategies that will support you to achieve your employee value proposition at the end.
Absolutely, brilliantly, you have shared this employer value proposition, and this can only come from a chartered member and chartered fellow. How to do this, how to create the strategy, how to make it happen in an organization. Mr. Nawaf, you have been um, you have taken the chartered fellow route through experience assessment, and you have not gone for CIPD level 5 or level 7. And in today's world, I have seen a lot of senior HR leaders, because of lack of clarity, they go for any HR certification which has been proposed by the training companies, and they justify level 5 for VP HR, HR director, CHRO level 7, and they spend almost 12 months to almost 2 years reading just even not only same but less than what they have already qualified for. If any person who has done a graduate in HR, forget about MBA, I feel they should never go for a level 5 or level 7 certification. Rather, if you have 10 plus years of experience around manager, senior manager, or director HR, you should go for a chartered member. And if you are around VPHR, CHRO, Chief of Shared Service Officer, rather than spending your time, effort, and money, you should go for a chartered fellow, because even if it is getting freely from your organization or from the HRDF, you should not waste your money. And this, in fact, can be detrimental. In fact, can damage your profile. If a VPHR of a CHRO has a level 5 or level 7 or associate CIPD in their designation, there's a lot of question attached to it. That does he know strategy? Does he know how to implement it? Does he know employer value proposition? Can he be part of the boardroom team? And a lot of times CEOs, they have a lot of question. Even board members, they have a lot of question. And the chairman of the organization, they have a lot of questions. So what do you say about it? Especially for going for chartered fellow and chartered member for the senior HR leader.
Definitely, I totally agree with you, actually, Sandeep. In my view, the normal certifications are really good, okay, but they are good for junior staff who are just really maybe starting their beginning of their careers, let's say, in the human resources field. They need to understand the basics of human resources. They need to understand the basic knowledge required. Maybe they need to understand the basic best practices available in the market for the different HR practices. But today, if someone has actually a level of number of years of experience in the HR field, definitely going for a lower certification doesn't really reflect the value or will give actually the credibility of the experience that the HR person having who have actually learned and practiced strategies in his actually let's say during his experience is better going for certifying actually his knowledge and experience throughout this kind of certification. It's going to be a testament of his actually expertise and knowledge and also skills in the HR domain. That would be actually the value he will gain from spending some time maybe trying to go through this process of certification, which he will, to be honest, I went through it like others. It was a very enjoyable experience. It refreshed my memory, going through having actually to remember and discuss some of my experiences in the different HR areas and strategies. So it was actually a very pleasant journey I went through, and I encourage everyone actually to do it.
That takes us to the next question. How do you sell HR strategy to a skeptical CFO? Because CFO in the organization, they want numbers. And I've seen a lot of HR people, shying away from numbers. And there are many now HR leaders are there who are very strong in business numbers. They really love people analytics. They love the business analytics. They love the business numbers. So what's the HR strategy and how to sell your HR strategy to the CFO? Because most of the time, your strategy gets stuck at the CFO's table, because of budgetary approval or business case justifications or because of the lack of evidences and all.
Yes, the relationship actually, Sandeep, between the CFOs and CHROs is very interesting relationship, by the way. But again, they can actually work together, as you said, if the HR executives or leaders can prove that they are actually contributing positively to the organization. So, return on investment metrics are very important, which actually show productivity, talent retention, savings on talent management and development. I mean, we all know, for example, basic, I would say examples. Turnover is sometimes very expensive for the organization. So if you have high retention in your organization, saves a lot of money, meaning that you don't have to go through the rehiring process, which actually sometimes proving to be very costly. So investing in your staff, for example, and upskilling them have actually contributed a lot to the cost savings and making sure that also you don't spend a lot on external hiring. So by using return on investment examples and metrics, you would have a very good and healthy relationship with the CFOs.
So now this takes us to the next interesting question because of the turnover, is that what's your top tactic or a strategy to reduce the turnover in a competitive market? Because I've seen in last 5-7 years, the Saudi economy has not only imploded, but exploded now. And you have competition across talent war, across, you have got fintech industry coming up. You have got very, very innovative, in finance and investment sector, in the banking sector coming up. So what's your top tactic as a chartered fellow to reduce the turnover in a competitive market?
Yes, definitely. This is a very important topic, Sandeep. I think reducing turnover is a challenge today in a very dynamic market, I would say, especially in Saudi Arabia, where you know that we are going through a major development growth in the country, and we have our very ambitious vision 2030. There is a lot of projects in the market. The competition is very high. So an HR leader certified again can actually develop different strategies that would support him in actually achieving this objective by having competitive compensations, review introducing new benefits, ensuring that having the right career development opportunities within the organization, having the right culture within the organization, because culture means a lot. And again, a lot of people actually stay longer within any organization because of their work environment and culture, not necessarily pay or benefits. Sometimes, yes, it is a combination, but also having the right work environment, the right culture would help a lot actually in reducing turnover within the organization. So it is really a combination. It is a strategy that any HR leader will have actually to put into place by having a different combination, thinking outside the box today in a very challenging environment. You don't have to follow what others do. You will have to come up with new creative ideas. You have to be dynamic actually in your thinking and think fast. I think by having all of this, hopefully it will contribute and reduce the turnover within the organization.
Absolutely agree with you, Nawab. So that takes us to the next interesting question. How does certification improve the crisis in leadership?
Definitely, it contributes a lot in the crisis management. It equips actually the HR leaders with crisis management framework, help them in the decision making, also improving their skills and resilience, building also strategies and on the crisis management. I would say that we have experienced this unfortunately during the COVID pandemic situation, where actually the contribution of the HR actually department during this pandemic have contributed a lot on the crisis management from different angles, especially that the areas that focused on employee well-being during that period, and also contributing to the business as well. I would say that we have been very lucky, alhamdulillah, that we were one of the organization that hadn't had any actually impact from a business or people perspective during this pandemic, and that was really through the HR contribution into the crisis management communication situation.
Yes, absolutely. And I've seen, especially the chartered fellow and the chartered member accredited data leaders, they are quite well versed in risk management, governance modeling, risk mitigations, and they use a lot of models, statistical models, analytical models, to safeguard the organization from the different crisis, leadership or a business crisis. That's their strength. That is why they are chartered fellow and the chartered member. This takes us to the next question: is can HR strategies directly impact customer satisfaction?
For sure. And this is where, again, we reiterate the importance of the human resources function being a value creation department to the stakeholders, and customers are one of the important actually stakeholders for the organization. So by having an engaged and motivated employees, so if you create strategy that will add improve the performance of the organization, and also having a satisfied, engaged employees will provide definitely very better services, leading to higher customer satisfaction and loyalty as well. And again, if we go through the previous questions, we talk about the staff engagement and having the right staff engagement strategies within the organization, addressing the needs, will lead into a happier staff, and happier staff mean happier customers.
Absolutely. And that's where the empathy strategy also plays a very crucial role in the organization. It takes us to a very interesting question, and this is a little bit We want you to, share it by heart. What has been your boldest HR move that drove the business results? I'm sure being a chief of HR is not an easy. You know, the higher you go, you are very alone, and you have to sometimes take very crucial, tough decisions because everybody, all the eyes are looking towards you. They want to see some solution from you, and sometimes you have to take certain very tough and a hard decision, and sometimes that could be not in the favor of could be a business or the people, because at times if those decisions are not being taken, sometimes it can cost the business or to the shareholders wealth at the end. All the functions are there to create the wealth of the shareholders. If the shareholder doesn't put the money in the organization, so you can't survive. So what has been the boldest HR move that drove the business results?
Definitely 100% agree with you, Sandeep. I would say implementing strategic HR transformation that shifted actually the HR from being a very administrative department or function to a business enabler, and also driving employee engagement and performance. I am very proud actually that I have introduced the HR business partner model within the organization, who have proven to be a very successful actually move. Having a business partners, strategic business partners, working beside the business heads, have actually contributed a lot to the organization success, and also driving performance as actually we go. And that was proven also again by our alhamdulillah revenues and profits during the past organization, and also creating the right employee value proposition within the organization.
Brilliant. Nawaf, as we come to the end of our today's lead talk, I have a certain message to the senior HR leaders and the mid HR leaders, and I would also like you to sound some message to them. So my suggestion and recommendation to the senior HR leaders is, organization in a country like Saudi Arabia, the opportunities are coming up in plenty. There are huge opportunities as the economy grows manifold, as the organization grows to 2030. And then you have got Riyadh Expo coming up. Then you have got a number of major initiatives opening up in Saudi Arabia. And it is going to be the growth engine of the Middle East, Africa, I will say even Europe in times to come, because that's the only country that is going to be the huge, biggest growth engine. And there comes the opportunity for the HR leaders. And if HR leaders want to cash on to these opportunities, I will suggest you go ahead and get yourself certified and accredited as Chartered MCIPD if you are at the level of HR directors. If you are at the level of CHRO, Chief of Shared Service Officer, please go ahead and get yourself accredited as a Chartered Fellow or a Chartered FCIPD. That gives a lot of credibility to your HR leadership in the organization. The shareholders, a lot of companies, they are getting public listed in Saudi Arabia, and it is exciting times. And if you can get yourself accredited for the chartered member and chartered fellow, rather than wasting your time for level 3, 5, and 7, which is way, way low in terms of pay grade or the certification. Those are good, as Nawaf was saying. Those are good for the junior leaders, for them to enhance their knowledge, ability, and all. But you, as a senior HR leaders from 10 years, about 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 years, get yourself accredited so that you bring that credibility to your HR function. Nawaf, what's your message as a chief of HR, as a chartered fellow from UK, chartered fellow from Australia? What's your message to the directors and the chief of HR, not only for Saudi Arabia, but all across the region?
Definitely, I support and agree with everything that you have mentioned, Sandeep. I would encourage them actually all to raise their profile, and raising their profile will can only happen when they have a certification that would confirm the credibility and of their knowledge and experience and their profile. So it is having that testament actually of their, I would say, experience by adding a trusted certification designations in their profiles would add actually a lot of credibility. And again, beside that, also I encourage actually the HR leaders again to continue learn in their journey and as they go. I mean, learning can happen through different ways of keeping themselves updated by reading, I mean, attending conferences, etc. Also having some kind of development as well. But at the end, today the value of the HR is increasing, and no organization going to succeed without having the right HR leadership and who actually going to contribute to the business and share the shareholder value as well. If if you haven't really spent enough time to raise your profile and get actually yourself certified to be able actually to add a lot of value to your organization.
Thank you, Mr. Nawaf, and it has been extremely our pleasure at the Global Society of Human Capital Management to have a discussion and to listen to you in the lead talk. Thank you so much, viewers, and we'll get back with the new series talk on global HR certification, empathy, and strategy next week. Thank you, and you have a good day.